Okay, let's see if I get this straight. The original Bourne movies was The Bourne Identity, The Bourne Supremacy, and The Bourne Ultimatum. Now, this new movie is called Jason Bourne. Well, what are they going to do for the next one? Give him his middle name? Jason Robert Bourne, you stop killing people this instant! It's lazy time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review. Talk about movies and comics too. That's all we're watch Hello everybody, how's it going? I am LazyDude99 here with another review, and today it is time to review the new Bourne movie, simply called Jason Bourne. So when it comes to the Bourne franchise, I think they're all really great films. It took action spy movies in an area where we really hadn't seen it go in a while, the nitty-gritty serious style, because if you remember around that time, James Bond was doing Die Another Day crap when the original Jason Bourne came out. The action scenes are quick, fast, they look like they hurt, and they're always nitty-gritty. The car chases, very intense, going at full throttle, a mile a minute, then stop with a crash. Jason Bourne was interesting, the side characters were interesting, the way that they were always trying to track him down and how he get out of these situations was always interesting. And so for this movie, Jason Bourne he's off the grid. He's done, you know? He did his thing, he revealed Treadstone to the world and everything. He's done, he's away, he wants nothing to do with it. He just wants to go into these fighting rings where he just punches one guy and walks away with some money. But the girl from the first film comes and gives him information on his past and specifically on his father. Before Jason Bourne can even realize what's happening, he's roped back into the situation. The government people are tracking him again, this time led by Tommy Lee Jones. Along the way, one of the agents working on the case seems to start helping him. We got Alicia Vikander as Heather Lee, and she is trying to help out Bourne and, you know, lend him a hand and gives him clues of what he should do next. Now, as I said, I like the Bourne movies, and I really do. I mean, Jason Bourne is a character who is really, especially when he had the memory loss problem, it was really interesting to see this guy having these problems where he knows how to, you know, to take a person down and to knock them out and to which pressure points and how much somebody weighs and all these different exits and whatnot. He can process that in the brain, but he doesn't know how. He doesn't know why. So now it's moving on with the franchise. He's now got his memory back. That's not an issue anymore. And let me just say, there's not a lot wrong with this film, but I think we're kind of hitting a certain button that we're pressing a little too much. I remember when I was walking into this film, I'm like, okay, what do I want from this Bourne movie? Well, I want to see him escape, you know, the government at every turn. I want to see him being in a really gritty fist fight with no talking, no banter back and forth. That's not Jason Bourne. He has to, you know, get into the nitty-gritty and to take him down. I want to see great car chases. I mean, the last spy movie I saw, I remember, it was Spectre, and that had, like, one of the worst car chases ever. Not the plane chase. I mean, when he was being chased by the wrestler guy, it's just, like, two cars driving down the street. I'm like, I wanted to see good car chases, and I wanted to see Jason Bourne just do cool stuff. Well, let's see what I got. I got Jason Bourne being hounded by the government by every turn. I got the nitty-gritty fist fight scene with no talking or banter. I got two really great car chase scenes. And I got just Jason Bourne, you know, being Jason Bourne. And then it really hit me, I kind of know what to expect from this film. I think it's like, it's hitting a note where I feel like I've seen all this before. You know? Jason Bourne trying to figure something out and find something out that the government is doing, and while they're always on his tail, and there's always a guy in a suit who is the main guy behind it all, and then there is just a guy who's like a really skilled assassin always after Bourne. And that's in here too. And we also have the element of the woman who's helping Jason Bourne and is working with the government. You know, she starts by hunting him, and then she ends up kind of helping him. We kind of have that element in this film too, all of which had been addressed and done in the franchise before. There is one element that they change up with that I actually really like, but for the most part, it's all very familiar. And this film does have a couple of things that I didn't like. Like, a lot of this revolves, of Jason Bourne's interest in this, it revolves around his father. Now, on the one hand, it's a good setup because we need to get Jason Bourne involved in this. We need him to have personal stakes and a personal interest in this. Involving, now that he has memories of his past, let's involve some of the family from his past into it, is a good way to do that without, wrecking anything that's been set up in the other movies. But on the one hand, there's this thing where, like, as I said, there's a skilled assassin that's out to assassinate Jason Bourne, but also the skilled assassin is involved with his father's death, let's just say. Jason finds out that his father was involved with Treadstone from the very beginning, and, he wonders, is like, what does that mean? Why? Then, when he died, I thought it was by terrorists. Wait, was it Treadstone? Were they involved in this? And there's a couple of things that are just a little bit too convenient, like, oh, that just happened to be this, and he just happened to be there, and now we're happening to be doing this. And I don't think I ever really feel that convenience in the past Bourne movies. When there's an assassin after Jason Bourne in the other movies, it's not an assassin that has any personal stakes in it. He's just a guy with a gun. One of the best sequences in the whole franchise is this scene where you got that sniper and Bourne facing off of each other in that field in the Bourne Identity. The sniper with a sniper rifle and Jason Bourne with a shotgun. And, they have that whole sequence, and Bourne's able to take him down, and they don't really say anything. I think they might say a couple lines, but they don't really say anything to each other, because there are no personal connections. They're just killers, and one of them's going to live, and one of them's going to die. But on the other hand, that doesn't really make the film bad. It's just a couple of things I'm like, I've seen this handled better in the past. This film doesn't give me, it's not giving me anything new with the Bourne franchise. It's still giving me the basic go-by-go, follow step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the regular Bourne franchise. Now, the film ends on a really interesting note, and if they make another one, I am actually really interested where they go with that story. I'll get into that in the spoiler part of the review, because I don't want to go into that right now, but, this film, the action is great, although there is a little bit too much shaky cam. I mean, I know that was in the other films, but I feel like it was just handled better there. Maybe it's because we've gotten away from shaking cams in our movies, and so when there's a film still using it, it's more, jarring, because I'm like, I thought we got away from this. But the original Bourne movies used it with purpose, and so I think it was better implemented in there. In the end, if you want to see a Jason Bourne movie, you're gonna basically get what you've got in the past. Not to say the character does the exact same things, but there are things like he's still gonna run away from the government. He's still gonna get into those fight scenes. There's still gonna be those great car chases, and they're great. But I feel like I've seen them. That's one of the things with being more low-key with your action and with your, fighting stuff, is that when you're not going bombastic, it's like, there's nothing like how in Casino Royale they were doing all that parkour and they're running on top of a crane and doing all this stuff that is clearly set up for an action scene, and, in the realm of reality, it's not really realistic that stuff would happen, but it makes it more, adventurous. You're like, whoa, okay, whoa! The stakes are higher, and that makes it stand out more. When you're playing everything more low-key and realistic, you gotta work a little harder to make your stuff stand out more, where I feel like this film is, being a little bit too much repetitive with its style. But in the end, Matt Damion is still good. Tommy Lee Jones plays a good villain. This woman, Alicia Vikander, plays a good character. I think it's good, I just don't think it's necessarily anything great. I think taking out the memory loss, they had to do that. I just think the memory loss was such a key part of Jason Bourne's character that I really felt that lacking, that part of him, I really didn't, you always feel for Bourne because he doesn't know who he is and why all this is happening. And you kind of lose that. It takes an element of Jason Bourne's characters away, and it doesn't really replace it with something new. It's just Jason Bourne without that really interesting character development character factor of him not being able to remember his past. So I'm giving Jason Bourne a a 7 out of 10. It's still shot well. It's still, the actors are still acting their parts well. The cinematography is still good. There's a couple of things that, you know, I kind of seen before, but they're still handled well. In the end, I think this movie is good. It's a good movie. I just think there's not a lot to bring me back to it. You know, when I want to see a Jason Bourne movie, I'm going to go back to the Bourne trilogy. I'm not going to go back to this one because I don't really think there's anything in this movie that the previous movies didn't do better already. So that's my rating. Now for the spoilers, this is my spoiler warning. If you want to see this film, if you want to see this film, go see it, then you can check out the spoiler part of this review. But if you don't care for spoilers or whatnot, I want to talk about my favorite element of this film. Because we got this girl, Agent Heather Lee, and at first I wasn't sure of her character, because she goes from like trying to, you know, hunt Bourne down to, she reads his file, how there's this part in his file that says, well, he, at his heart, he's a patriot and he wants to be back into the fight, so it's possible we could reintegrate him into the program. After she reads that, she then keeps on doing stuff to help Bourne. You know, she sends him a text warning him when they're about to close in on him, and she gets into them and tells him of what they're doing over here in Vegas, and she tells him where to go and gives him clearance and whatnot. And I'm like, at first I'm just like, oh, come on. Automatically on Bourne's side like this? Come on, I don't like that. She's just on his side just because she read his file. That's a little bit for. But then it was coming to the end, and I'm like, they could do something here. What if she's not a good guy? What if she really is just using Bourne to further her own agenda? Because we saw in the beginning that she was very determined. She, you know, was very driven to be, you know, one of the top-ranking agents, and she's very driven. And like, what if she's just, you know, has been using Bourne the whole time? Then the ending starts. She talks to this guy that's like head of something. Basically the next up on the up guy who's gonna, you know, decide who's the next agent of, or head of CIA. And she's like, yeah, now that he's gone, you're gonna want somebody close to you to work with you. Someone who's in your camp. And I'm like, oh wow. She's just talking about how she's done all this stuff to get this other guy out of the way so she could have his job. And she could be the head of the CIA. And the guy's like, what about Jason Bourne? You think you can bring him in the fold? She's like, oh, he trusts me now. After everything I did for him, he trusts me. He'll come into the fold. And I'm like, yes! That's exactly what I was thinking. She's did way too many dirty deeds and got people killed. So to be a good person, just to be out of the goodness of her heart. And then when she turns out she's just a selfish, manipulative character, I'm like, oh, that makes her so much more interesting. And if they do make a sequel, I want to see her as the villain, because the way the movie ends, if you've seen it, because you should have seen it, because if you're in the spoiler part, you know, she's like, you know, invites Jason back into the fold, and she says, I'll think about it. And then Jason leaves something for her to let her know, yeah, I'm on to you. And I'm like, yes. Okay, so now if she's going to go after Jason Bourne, that's going to be interesting. Because I really like her as a character now. And the fact that she was all the time just lying, manipulating, you know, mastermind makes her so much more interesting to me. And I would actually be really interested to see what her and Jason Bourne type of rivalry is. I think the biggest thing is Jason Bourne needs to find a purpose. You know, like now that Treadstone's out of the way, what is this person just to be a whistleblower? Anytime the government tries to bring up a black ops group, just go like, they're doing this. Is that his position now? I don't think so. It's going to be interesting to see if they continue on with this franchise, and I'm actually really interested to see if they do something with it. But if they do, I think they're going to need to differentiate themselves from the franchise before this starts tasting a little stale. You know, it's like those popcorn when the person just butters the top. You know, you start eating it, and it's very good. You got all the buttery goodness flavor, and then you get to the middle, and it's still good. People are, you know, there's less buttery and less flavor, but you still get. But by the time you get to the bottom, you're just like eating the kernels that haven't popped yet. You're like, you know, I'm still getting substance. I'm just not getting the great taste that I used to. So that's the way I felt about Jason Bourne. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good movie, but this franchise really needs to change some things up before I might start to lose interest. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Once again, I'm LazyDude99. Adios.
Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.